Well, good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm Alan, the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Welcome to Fandom Friday. Now, every Friday we visit with somebody from the wider world of the Tolkien fandom, musicians and artists, craftsmen and scholars, content creators, and more. And today we're welcoming another of the content creators that I had the privilege of meeting back in London last year at the Rings of Pow-er screening. He runs the main subreddit for the Amazon show, r/LOTR on Prime. That uses the underscores. We'll have that in the show notes. He created the Discord server for the OG of Tolkien fan websites, the OneRing.net. Interviewed a ton of the cast from the Rings of Pow-er. I'm not jealous, not at all. And he won Dwarf of the Year for 2022. I think it's safe to say he's likely to repeat in 23. Folks, please welcome Varking Runesong, or simply Will Smith, to today's Tolkien Times.
It's a lot easier online to go by Varking than it is Will Smith right now, but it's a pleasure to be on here. I've watched all the previous Fandom Fridays and seen all your cool guests, and
awesome.
As you said, I'm not jealous, but it's really cool to be a part of this, and I think it's awesome that you're doing this.
Oh, thank you. It really is so much fun, and I'm looking forward to getting to really connect with more and more people. It's been just a privilege so far. Question for you. Even though we have spent time together in, wow, we sound like we're world trotters, London, New York, and San Diego Comic-Con, I've yet to ask you one of the more important questions I ask folks around here. How and when did you first encounter Tolkien's works, and what is it that keeps you coming back?
I encountered it from my father, who would work these long shifts at work in a town an hour away at a factory. But then he would come home at night, and to kind of bond with my sister and I, he would come into the room late at night and he would read us The Hobbit. And then we eventually got through that and into the Lord of the Rings books. But the Hobbit edition that he had like the very scary, almost realistic looking like Frodo Gollum on the front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't pick it up myself because I was terrified of the imagery of that. So he would read it to us at night. And what keeps me coming back is just, it's like the show like this. It's just a wider fandom. It's all the people that have been touched by the works. And every day, I feel like between Discord, Reddit, Twitter, wherever, I'm constantly running into people who are completely new to this, whether it's they're seeing the show or the movies, or they're finally picking up the books for the first time. It's just a blast to interact with people about something that you're passionate about. And like you can kind of help bring them into the wider fandom too.
Yeah, you're excited about it because you're like, man, I remember when I was there, and you could never be that first-time fan again. And so you kind of live vicariously through them and then get them into whether it's reading more or watching more or whatever it may be.
100%. And my daughter, who's turning 13 here soon, she's one of those newer fans. She didn't see any of the movies growing up. She just knows a little bit about the books.
How did you keep her from the movies for so long?
Their kids nowadays are weird. It was like Genshin Impact and Minecraft and Roblox. But for me, it was like Lord of the Rings.
Nothing but Fortnite. So, yeah.
There you go. But
I hear you.
During the season, she saw how hyped I was about just a new Lord of the Rings thing coming out. And so every weekend, we would sit down together right around lunchtime, and we would watch whatever the newest episode of Rings of Pow-er was. And from that, now she's reading the book. So that's part of the reason where it's like, bringing in a new fan, but bringing in the one I helped make. It's super cool.
That's a highlight, man. And that is awesome because, she started with the Rings of Pow-er. And that's the thing. People are going to start wherever they start. And as people in the fandom who do the things we do, the last thing we can be doing is putting up hurdles and go, oh, no, you have to read the books first.
Yeah, I'm the last person to gatekeep. However you can find the fandom, and then we'll help get you to the books.
I'm going to open all the gates. Just get in here.
You get it.
Absolutely. Well, tell us how you got involved with the Tolkien community. I mean, obviously, that's the thing that keeps you going. You didn't start out running the Lord of the Rings on Prime subreddit. So what brought you into all this?
Yeah, so it was Reddit, but it wasn't moderating the show's subreddit. It was posting on places like Tolkien Fans and the LOTR subreddit itself, and then having a little bit of fun on LOTR memes before things get super crazy. But just being an active member in those communities, and then from there, posting a little bit on the OneRing.net message boards. I wasn't on like the IRC or anything like that. But then from that, just one day,
IRC, man, old school.
Exactly. But I think I don't remember who announced that Amazon was making a show about it. But I went on Reddit and I just typed in like Lord of the Rings on Amazon, and there was a sub that was made, and it was only like 3 weeks old. So I joined it, and they started looking for moderators, and they brought in like 5, but everybody's name had like Smeagol or Gollum in it, except for mine. So I felt like the outcast. And then you fast forward, and it's been like 3 years since we started, and we're up to 300,000 members. It's been crazy.
300,000.
Yeah, I think we're at like 299, 580 or so. And
that counts.
We're about to cross it.
Yeah, not a problem. Like tomorrow. By the time this episode airs, you'll be at 200,000. That's amazing. Well, while you and I might have differing opinions of the Rings of Pow-er show as a whole, I'm not sure, maybe we don't. I think we can both agree that the dwarves were one of the strong points, if not the strongest. I certainly know better than to say otherwise in front of you. So maybe the answer to this next question will be obvious. But who was the most enjoyable interview that you had during that season 1 run, and why?
Oh man, so because I'm gonna share this with all these people that I did get to interview, and
they were all good, of course, right? They were.
Everybody was
I know
super
they were.
cool.
I watched them all.
And I'll say
fantastic.
What we got to do on Reddit was like 30 minutes of public conversation, and I don't think I'm breaking any NDAs here or whatever.
Oh, that's a fair point. If you are, let me know. I'll make sure to edit this.
I don't think we are, but about 20 to 30 minutes before we went live publicly, we got to get those people in like a private Reddit and do just kind of like a get to know them. And some people are just like, they're very, very relatable. But my favorite interview was probably, I want to default to saying Owain Arthur or Emma Horvath.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was Sophia, who plays Disa. She was just an absolute sweetheart. She answered everything, didn't duck any questions, and she's one of the dwarves on the show who had a really solid performance, and I'm very much looking forward to season 2. But yeah, she was
still just not every scene she was in.
She was my favorite, just because like there's a bond there from a little bit like meeting them in San Diego to eventually doing that, and it was very smooth. I felt nervous. She was nervous, but it went as it was like we were old friends. It was perfect.
That's cool. That's great. Now, you do a lot for the Tolkien fandom and for the community of content creators. I have a feeling I know where this is going, but I want our fans to understand, what is it that drives you? What makes this work so rewarding for you?
Well, a lot of it is just seeing other people get boosted. And that's what I like about Reddit. I like when, Nerd of the Rings comes to our subreddit, excuse me, and he posts his latest video, and it's related to Rings of Pow-er. And he's got his own comment section on YouTube, but on Reddit, we're all going over the theories or whatever he's talking about. Or somebody draws an awesome picture of Aarion, just as an example, and posts it on the subreddit, and you see all the love that it gets, and it makes me feel good knowing that, the internet can be a pretty tough place. But
it can be, especially when it comes to Rings of Pow-er.
But seeing other people be able to enjoy something, and then there's other people supporting their enjoyment and not just trying to knock them off their horse, that I get a huge kick out of. And then we were able to partner with Reddit at one point, and we gave away 25 of it's like a yellow elvish cover book of Lord of the Rings. Recently came out. We got community funds from Reddit directly, and we were able to give away 25 of them on the subreddit. And then you would think people would win this stuff, and then they kind of go on their way. Almost everybody came back to us like weeks later, and they were just very thankful for getting this new book in and being able to read it. That's the kind of stuff that feels super good. And
that is rewarding.
It is very rewarding knowing that other people appreciate what you're doing, but just knowing that they're having a good time with whatever.
Exactly. They're getting into the fandom. They're getting to experience the thing that you experienced when you first read the books.
Exactly.
And now you're like, just wait till you get to this part. Or man, you got to wait till you read the Silmarillion. And like, I'm afraid of the Silmarillion. And he said, well, I've got this podcast. I know.
It's no different than what you're doing here every Friday with your platform. Like, you've got a very large fan base. You're very well known in the community. To me, you're one of the pillars. You're somebody who's been around for a long time, and you're a beacon of how people should act and carry themselves. And I try to model a little bit of that as much as I can after how folks like you and how Corey handle themselves publicly, and just the way you interact with your fan base. I think it means a lot. And then again, you're pulling others up along the way with you on Friday.
That's the hope, right?
And I appreciate it. I notice it, and I hope that people do see that and do really appreciate it.
You're absolutely right. I mean, well, except for all the high praise, which I'm just going to take humbly and say thank you. But, one of the things that I think is, so important, especially in this community, it's important in other fandoms, but I really think in the Tolkien community, it's just obvious that it is collaborative and not competitive, right? That what we do, we build each other up. The rising water lifts all boats, that kind of thing. And it's just been, I've seen that all throughout this whole season of the Prancing Pony podcast with 9 other co-hosts coming along and helping me in a time when I had no idea what was going to happen with the show.
Which again is super awesome that people were able to pull together and make all that happen, and they felt comfortable going to you, and you were able to approach them, and the collaborations were able to happen. Like, you don't see that in a lot of other fandoms, not as frequently as you see it in the Lord of the Rings fandom.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about that because it is the Tolkien fandom. So finally, assuming people actually want to follow a dwarf, and they better, where can they best find you and your work?
I'm fairly active on Twitter at Varking Runesong.
Okay.
But I'm just all over Reddit and Discord. Like if there's a link to a Discord and it's Tolkien based, I'm probably on it. And if there's any Reddit that has LOTR anywhere in the name, I'm probably on it and very active with commenting 100%.
But for sure, have people follow the Lord of the Rings on Prime Reddit subreddit, and follow you on Twitter as well. We'll include those in the show notes for folks. Well, thank you, Varking. I really appreciate you coming by today. It's a pleasure to hang out with you as always.
It's, like I said, awesome to be here. It's an honor for me to be able to collaborate with you in any way. And I really appreciate this platform on Fridays. And I know your previous guest definitely did too. And I look forward to tuning in week after week to see who else comes on.
I can't wait. I hope it gets even bigger and better, and just everybody gets a chance to get on here. That's what I'm looking forward to. Well, folks, that is it for today's Fandom Friday, but come back next week to meet another of your fellow Tolkien fans and maybe even learn more about the niches of the community that you might be interested in exploring. And if you're interested in joining me here on today's Tolkien Times for a future Fandom Friday, let me know by emailing barliman@theprancingponypodcast.com. And if these few minutes leave you wanting more Tolkien content, be sure to check out the Prancing Pony podcast, where we've spent 7 years so far walking through the books and having a nice chat at the pub about our favorite author. And finally, join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times as we wrap up our week with Silmarillion Saturday. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're listening on a podcast app, be sure to follow or subscribe to make sure every episode gets downloaded to your device. Follow at Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. And in the words of Faramir, go with the goodwill of all good men.